everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jess and today's video is going to be a February reading wrap up. I'm very excited to bring this wrap up to you guys. I'm actually really impressed at all the reading that I have managed to do this week. Obviously some of these books you will recognise from my TBR because I did pull and generate a TBR for this month. Others of them will be new to you guys because they have been books that I picked up throughout the month, and that's what I'm going to try and do, is to make sure, although yes I've got those set TBRs, I would love to be able to still read things that are outside of those TBRs just to keep you guys on your feet and also to make these summaries a lot more exciting. Let's jump right on into this wrap up. I am actually missing one of the books from this reading wrap up and I have no idea where I've put it, which honestly does make me a bit sad, but I'm sure I'll find it somewhere in my house. It's definitely in my house somewhere. It's just a case of finding exactly where. This month I generated 5 books to be on my monthly TBR and I did not get round to 2 of those. That is All of This Twisted Glory by Tahereh Mafi and Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. Right, so now we've shared what I didn't manage to read this month, let's share what I have managed to read. I started the month by finishing These Infinite Threads by Tahereh Mafi. Now I feel like my opinion of this book has been definitely skewed because I did take a long break halfway through where I decided that I just needed a break from this world and a bit of a romantasy, I guess, a young adult romantasy break. So yeah, I did take a long break before picking this back up at the beginning of February. I am really enjoying this story. I really do like Tahereh Mafi's writing. I will say I'm feeling slightly frustrated at the lack of knowledge that I have of some of the characters that we're introduced to throughout the first and second book. Like, we don't know a lot of the characters' motives, and I will say in this particular book there's a scene in this one that just makes no sense to me, and I feel like the lore just came out of the left centre and it was like, we don't know how to get this character to this place, so we're just gonna have this appear, and it just felt very random to me. I don't know, it felt very random to me. Maybe I'm just incorrect and I've just not picked up some of the lore in that. I do really love Tahereh Mafi's writing. I will say there is one particular character who comes across as very obsessive over our main character, which is not my favourite thing, and I do find him quite annoying actually throughout the story, particularly throughout this book. But I think that's just because I don't really necessarily like him, so I don't like having loads of chapters about him. And there is a lot of more of a dual POVs going on in this story. We have multiple people's POVs, which is actually very intriguing, although we don't get enough of one character's POV in my opinion, because I want to know more about him so badly. Like, I'm desperate to know more. If you guys do not know, this book is the second book in the This Woven Kingdom series by Tahereh Mafi. I think it's going to be a 5-book series, but I could be incorrect. It could end up being longer. And in this world we have the Jinn and we have the Clay. Now the Clay are people like us, they're like humans, they don't really have any magical abilities and they can't access magic at all. And we also have the Jinn who can access magic and are kind of, I guess, a very soft version of Fae. Well, a very soft version of magical creatures. I guess in my opinion, I would say they're maybe a little bit more closer to Fae than they are closer to witches. That's just the way that I kind of pick up on the magic that they have and the powers that they tend to have, is the way that that makes me feel about it. Now in the first book we're following a beggar and a slave who works for loads of the Clay people, but she is actually the hidden Jinn princess, and she is basically the last surviving royal of the Jinn kingdom who was desecrated by the Clay. So the Clay and the Jinn have been at war, and the Clay basically ended up beating the Jinn, and they now kind of work at the lower class jobs. They're very much not very respected in society. They're treated very poorly. Nobody really cares about them. They're kind of made to work until their hands are bleeding and blistered and they are in so much pain, but still expected to work because Jinn have more energy, so they can work for longer throughout the day, and people take advantage of that with the jobs that they have. And it's a very it's a really good world. The world is very well built, and I felt the same about Tahereh Mafi's Shatter Me series as well. I do feel like her worlds are very well built. As the series goes on, we learn more about our Jinn princess, and we learn about other royals that are part of this world as well, and we learn about the different places, and we kind of really do branch out from there, and that's just kind of where the story starts. The next book that I read was Seven Deadly Thorns by Amber Hamilton. I really enjoyed this. Now I was very curious about picking this up because it is a standalone, and a standalone of that is literally very, very skinny. It's a standalone romantasy. I did enjoy this. I think that I enjoyed this more than I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to, but then at the same time I feel like I did enjoy it more than maybe I initially expected that I would from the start of the story. It is set in a school setting and we see this world, and in this world they are very much trapped within the school setting. Outside of it is kind of like the mists. Think of like Maleficent vibes. We've got the mists that are impenetrable to those, so they're basically trapped in this place. They've got limited food, they've got limited supplies, but if you're part of the royal line then you're getting like kind of like more magnanimous occasions. You're getting more like amazing things happen to you. You get better food, you get better pay, things like that. And in this book we follow a prince. He's called Roz, and we also have our female main character who is called, I've forgotten, who's called Viola. Now I really liked Viola at the start and I really did actually quite enjoy Roz as well. It's that typical kind of like, I'm gonna say like hate to love, but it's not necessarily hate. They just kind of dislike each other. It's kind of that more younger, again I think this is more YA leaning or young adult leaning, so that would explain a lot why it kind of comes across a little bit younger in terms of their hatred for each other isn't quite well embedded in the story. They just dislike each other and she dislikes him a lot because of the way that he treats others because he is royalty. Now we find out that Roz is actually a assassin, and we know this from the beginning of the story and from the synopsis, so it's not a spoiler, but Roz is actually the hidden assassin of the queen to this kingdom, and he basically kills people that are assumed to be witches for his mum. Long story short. Now we start the story from there where Viola is caught to be found out as a witch and he is set to kill her. Now he is given a curse tattoo of 7 thorns, so he's got 7 thorns for 7 days that he has to kill this girl. And they end up teaming up instead. Now the story unfolds from there. I did enjoy the story, but I did feel like their kind of relationship and chemistry fell off for me. I did feel like I had a bit of a lack of interest, and I do feel like the story tried to maybe do too much too quickly. This is quite a rare occasion for me. In a rare turn of events, I do feel like being a standalone, it maybe needed a couple more pages, like I mean like 50 to 100 more pages, just to fully flesh out those characters, and also to fully flesh out the plot. It felt like near the end especially, there was just so much happening, it was hard to keep track of, and also the reveals within the story sometimes felt just very like, oh okay, this is very shocking, very confusing, how has this been kept a secret for so long? So it's been very interesting. I did really enjoy this. I think I actually ended up giving it 4 stars. The next book that I read is the one that I for some reason cannot find. I don't know where I've put it. I clearly put it somewhere because I have packed away my special edition books downstairs, so I think I might have put it in that box, but I'm not sure. It's Lore of the Wilds, and I was so excited about this book and it had so much great potential, and I actually do talk about this book in a reading vlog that's going to come out later after this video. But I was very excited by this book and I was really excited about the prospect, but to be honest the execution just wasn't quite right. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, which just means for me it was a good book. It was just okay, it was good. 2.5 is exactly halfway through the scales, it just means it was good. I do want to continue on to the second book. Lore of the Wilds follows a human girl who's from a human civilization, and she goes to the Fae court to go into this hidden library, and inside the library she finds a gift that she's always wanted, which is the gift of magic. And from there the story unfolds. She meets these horrible Fae. Quite a slow-paced book. We see kind of like the process of what happens to her once she has this book and once she leaves with this book, and then at the end we have quite a fast-paced plot that feels quite like, I don't know, I really enjoyed the ending of the book, which is what makes me want to read the second one. However, I would say like the relationship felt very like bland to me, and I have a feeling there could be a possible love triangle situation or scenario within this story. I am, however, quite excited by the prospect of reading the second book, which is Lore of the Tides. I do think I would enjoy that a lot more, but this book is just not my favourite, and I definitely think the characters were quite weak for me in this story, apart from one character which I really liked in particular, but we had time to build up that relationship. I do feel like the main character was a bit naive and very trusting. The next book that I read, and I spent a lot of this month working through this book, is Alchemized. Now this is the one book from my TBR board game that I actually didn't think I was going to finish this month. I thought I'd maybe start it by the end of the month but not have finished it. However, as you can see, I have finished it. I actually am one of those people that genuinely enjoyed this. The audiobook I felt was really good. I do feel like I maybe missed some information and I got a bit confused at the start. I don't know if everybody would, but I just feel like all of the terms are so similar, like necromancer, necrothor, bloody neuromancer, just all of it was very similar. That was very hard. I kind of wish there was a glossary. To help me through. I am so happy to own this very special edition of this book. I genuinely really enjoyed it. It is definitely much of a slower paced book, and I will say I again have notes about this book in a reading vlog that I filmed this past month. I tell you, we got to 200 pages and everything clicked for me and I was like, oh my god, that is such an amazing plot point. I love it, and like I really enjoyed it. And then I enjoyed the slow kind of day-to-day life and learning about what it was like being part of the Resilience from very like real first person eyes. I did feel like the way that it was woven was super like expert. I will say the only thing that I didn't like was the ending, and I feel like I am such a crucial critic of the ending of a fantasy book, and I feel like there's just, I don't know if I'm just too harsh on what I'm expecting or if everything just feels a bit too easy or what, but I will say, like, after years and years and years of our characters fighting, the ending for this book just felt a little bit unsatisfactory. But I also do really appreciate this story, and I did think it was a great story to start off with. I think it's a story of trials, of pain, of hunger, of just so much, of passion, of these souls that just are so resilient, that just don't want to give up. And I do think that there's so much to say about this story. I could easily reread this another time and see other messages behind this book. I genuinely really enjoyed it, and I think it was worth every single page that was written. I just want to add that upon reflection and thinking about this book for so long, like I still think about this book now, that actually the ending makes so much sense. It shows that pure kind of disappointment and the feeling, I guess, for like the realness of like war. Like once it finishes, nobody feels happy, nobody feels successful. If anything, it's always going to feel lackluster. And I thought actually, like on reflection, like thinking more critically about the story overall, it's such an accurate portrayal of those feelings of the end of war. I think you have to feel the longing and the pain and the desire and just all of the emotions that are felt by all of our characters in this. And also at the end of the day, they're at war. They are at war, and everything is going to be at a cost to these people. And I did find the actual story quite heartbreaking. I found their relationship to be amazing. I really enjoyed this, and I really enjoyed the slow burn of it, and I have been enjoying that more in books recently. And I gave this one a 4.5 stars. After reading Alchemized, I was feeling a little bit, not necessarily slumpy, but just like I couldn't cope with anything else that was slower paced. So I ended up picking up Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. I really liked this. I think I actually ended up giving it like 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this. We follow a woman who is part of a witness protection scheme, and she ends up in Fiasco, Kentucky, and this is where the Fox Boys live, and they are the owners and makers and producers of a bourbon drink that is famous kind of worldwide, I guess. Like, we find her as she is relocated to this farm and how she gets to know the Fox Boys and their whole family, and we learn about all of the loss and pain that these men have gone through. And she is then put here, she gets to know one of the men in particular called Grant. This is also dual POV, which I really loved, and I also loved seeing them both work through their own crap. Like, they both have quite dark backgrounds and histories, and I do think it was really important for them to talk about that and to work through that together. I thought their communication was amazing, and I don't know, I really enjoyed this. The spice was really well written as well. I really love this, and I can't wait to read more from the Fox brothers, and I actually do own the other 2 books in the series, so I'm very excited to read some more of this. And the next book that I read, which this is actually a reread for me, this is Pestilence by Lauren Frasser. This is the first in her 4 Horseman series. This is again a more of a smuttier book. My sister actually gave me the the box set because she had a spare one, and I didn't quite remember what I've read and what I haven't read from it, so I ended up reading this first one again, and this one follows the first horseman of war, Pestilence, as he goes on throughout the world spreading the plague to kill everybody from humanity because they believe that humanity has failed, and he has been sent to basically reap the earth, until he meets a particular lady on his path called Sarah, who is like furious, and she stays behind to defend the world from Horseman, and he ends up taking her as prisoner, and from there they develop their relationship. I had a Laura Falessa mode like phase a long time ago, and I do really like her writing in most instances. This is not the best written book you're ever going to read ever, but is it really a good time? Is it fun? Is it a little bit silly? Is it a little bit dramatic? Has it got great smut? Yes, to all of the above. And that, to be honest with you, is what keeps me reading this book. And honestly, I kind of am excited to read the rest of the Four Horsemen series, which is a massive change, because I remember the first time I read this, and I think I've read the first two, I think I was not like obsessed with it. I was like, I could probably leave it because this is not like great, but this is a great palate cleanser and exactly what I needed. It was quite silly, it didn't take itself seriously, and I think it was exactly what I needed. I did only give it 3 stars, but I enjoyed it. It was a good time. The last 2 books that I have read this past month are both from the same series. So I read The Coven by Harper L. Woods, and then I also read The Cursed by Harper L. Woods. Now, I have a lot more about this in a vlog that I have filmed, so I'm not going to talk too much about this because you will hear more about it in that vlog later on. The Coven I ended up really enjoying. I actually gave it 4 stars, and I think it's because I went into it not expecting anything from the book. And I must highlight that. I feel like sometimes if you go into a book, you haven't read reviews, you're not expecting anything from it, that's the best way that you get your reaction, your genuine gut reaction to a book or series. In this case, this is the first 2 books in a 8-book series, and these read themselves as a duology, and then there's 3 other duologies in the series. The second book wasn't as great. I didn't feel as compelled by the characters. I felt like a lot of the relationships with side characters were built more so off page, and I felt like I really needed to have those relationships be built on page. I also felt like the communication was rubbish in the second book, in my opinion, between the 2 characters. And I don't know, I have quite a few strong opinions about the cast, but I did really like The Coven, so I would definitely continue these. I do think they're really good. I think if there was a couple more pages in the next duology, that would actually work to its benefit, so I could see those relationships be formed properly. And I am very curious about the second duology, which follows one of the Princes of Hell. So I'm excited, and one of the Red Witches. The magic system in here is very interesting as well. I'm very intrigued by all of it, and I do want to read some more and learn more about this world. So yeah, those are those 2 books. And those are the last 2 full books that I read this past month. Now I am finishing the month currently reading my February 2026 Fairy Elite books, which is called Weavenshaw. These are all of the books that I have read in this past month, minus Lore of the Wilds, which is obviously missing. Like I said, it's in one of the boxes that I had to pack away because my special editions shelf has been packed away for a unit that we're building downstairs. But yeah, these are all the books that I have read, including Lore of the Wilds. I am very happy and proud of my February reading. Let me know in the comments below any books that you read this month that you absolutely loved, or if you've read any of these books and you had the same opinions or differing opinions. I'd love to hear from you guys. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Let's see more videos from me, and I'll catch you guys all in my next one. Bye!